Hello and welcome to Unbounded Growth, a podcast that challenges you to grow and become a better version of yourself. My name is Mark Allen, and together with my friend Adam, we share thoughts and ideas from the books that we read and how they enhance our personal growth and development. We also host other readers and leaders. We learn from their experiences through our discussions. Our episodes air every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for listening in, and let's grow together. Unbounded Growth. Hello and welcome back to Unbounded Growth. Happy New Year from the part of the world where I come from. If you haven't seen someone for a year, it doesn't matter if it's in March or April, you wish them a Happy New Year. So it's 2023. It's our very first episode. We are excited to have you all back, and thank you so much for the support, for the wishes, and you know, our prayer and our wish for you all this year is to grow more and become better. My name is Mark Alan Muteba. I'm your host, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Adam Shabindo. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm doing well, Mark, and Happy New Year to everyone who is listening to us and who listened to us last year. We had a fabulous year. It was amazing. It was a year where the dream came true. It was, we had a concept of starting a podcast and starting to share our growth journey with everyone else around the world. And now it's a reality. So 2022 was a very successful year when it came to Unbounded Growth. We ended the year with the giveaway that Shayla and Jessica ended up winning. And Jessica, I think she's in Congo, so she ended up winning the international prize, and Shayla ended up winning the national prize. So it was really an amazing year, and I'm really looking forward to 2023. I have so many things I'm expecting this year. I have a brand new growth plan that I have and things I want to accomplish. And, as we said last year, to never focus on the goal and to focus on the system that can help you achieve that goal. So it's a year where I'm pushing to try to have my system better, well set, and have a more systemic way of thinking when it comes to anything. And it's also a very exciting year for Unbounded Growth. So I'm really excited for every new milestone that we're going to be reaching this year. So that's going to be amazing. And as Mark said, where we are from, Happy New Year does not stop on New Year's Day. Happy New Year is something that is constantly there. So Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2023. We are here, and we are ready to grow. We are ready to challenge ourselves again better this year, and all the things that Unbounded Growth has in store for this year. I'm really personally looking forward to everything, even for our next series of episode on leadership. That's going to be really amazing. I've been spending a lot of time practicing and being a student of leadership, so it will be amazing to share that to the rest of the world.
Absolutely, and as Adam was saying, congratulations to Sheila and Jessica and thank you for everybody for playing along, for coming, and we have some more giveaway this year. That's pretty much what we exist for. We're here to give back to our community, to learn together, to grow together, and those are the goals that we are kind of working toward this year. And this year as well, we ended last year with a very amazing guest, David Friedman. If you haven't had time to listen to the whole episode, we know it was long, but we didn't want to dissect it for us to kind of lose focus on what we're talking about. So feel free to go back to listen to our very last episode with David Friedman, and I believe that you're going to learn a lot of lessons that will help you to become more successful in this year. Having that said, just laying down a little bit the plan for this year, we have, as Adam said, a lot of things that we are trying to achieve this year with Unbounded Growth. As the year unfolds, we are going to be to giving you some hints. We are going to be telling you about some events that are coming up whenever we are reaching out in our community around the world in general, but particularly here in the DFW Metroplex area, where we'll be, reaching out to other people. And then we also have a lot of guests that will be on the podcast this year that we are going to learn from. And the same way that we learned from David Friedman, we are going to learn from their story and the things that inspire them, that help them to work at the level where they work and perform at the level at which they perform. So as we promised last year, we were supposed to have a very last episode to talk about the Atomic Habit, the book that we've been talking about, but we decided to push it toward this year. And then spend the very last this the very last episode on atomic habit. Hopefully we will be able to finish the fourth law, and then next week, as Adam just mentioned, we are going to start our talk on leadership. We're going to be talking about the 5 levels of leadership by Dr. John Maxwell. And leadership is one of those subjects that really just consumes my mind and just capture me. I've been reading John Maxwell for more than 10 years, and I think I didn't have a good understanding of leadership until I started reading John Maxwell. It really breaks it down to a level that's so simple for everybody at every level to understand it, and to debunk the myth that people have about leadership, the position myth and everything, that you need a title, this and that. We learn together that being a leader is nothing more, nothing less but influence.
Yes, definitely.
Learning how to grow that influence in your workplace, in your place of work, and even some other book that John Maxwell wrote. I think it's called The 360 Leader, where he explained how you can lead an organization from anywhere you are, whether you're a janitor, whether you're a CEO, or whether you're just a mid-level manager. Learning how to lead an organization from any place you are. So just a little recap about what we've been talking about with atomic habit. And I want to mention something that Adam just talked about here: building system, focusing on system instead of goals. And I think I've made this mistake a lot in my life in the past, where every beginning of the year you have all this big old list, and we encourage you here to have goals, to have year resolution. Those stuff are very important, because Zig Ziglar used to say, you cannot hit a target you do not have.
Yeah.
You have a chance in a million to hit a target you do not see, but you have 0 in a million chances to hit a target you do not have. Having your resolution is important because it gives you a target to hit. And whether Plamedy and I were working on our family goals, we want it as a family. There are places we want to go. There are things we want to learn. Even for our very little boy, Adam Blaze, there are certain things that we want him to learn at a certain stage of his life. So it's crucial. But if you focus too much on your year resolution, it's like everything you're trying to improve last year, you put it in the trash. You say, this year, let me move on to new stuff. It's exciting. The problem with your resolution is that if you do not create a system around it, within the next 2 weeks, whether it's losing weight or gaining weight, whether it's reading more books or not doing anything, you are going to fall off if you don't have a system in place. That's why it's very important to focus on growth versus perfection. The problem with us, or most of us, with me particularly, when I was setting my year resolution in the past, is that I focused a lot on perfection. I said every day I'm going to start waking up. That's one of my goals this year, to wake up every day at 5 a.m. in the morning. I want to have a 2 hours routine every single day. From 5 to 7, there are certain things I want to do every single day. To be honest, 15 days in, 16 days in, I'm still not able to wake up at 6 a.m., at 5 a.m. But I tell you the progress I've made. I've gone from waking up at 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. Now I wake up at 6 a.m. and I go to bed around 10:30, 11 p.m.-ish. 11 p.m., I'm not saying that I sleep at 11 p.m., but at 11 p.m., I'm in bed. I'm not using my phone. Maybe I'm just having a conversation with Plamedy, or maybe I'm just sitting down there just thinking, or maybe praying, But at least I am focusing more on the progress I'm making versus the perfection. The problem with perfection is that if I say I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. every single day of this year, and today I can wake up at 5 a.m. and tomorrow I cannot wake up at 5 a.m., then I start feeling bad about myself.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. You don't change by feeling bad. You don't change by beating yourself down to be like, oh my God, I will never be able to do ABCD. So if you resolve this year to say, okay, I'm going to hit the gym every day, and you haven't hit the gym a single day, at least if you started waking up to go to the gym, that's progress. And that's what we want you to focus on this year. And that's what we are going to focus on this year: progress over perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is very important, actually, that you mentioned a few things. I have my own little definition of the 80-20 rules when it comes to perfection. And I have understood that in the world of research, actually, it's like you have to get something that is significant. So we push for significance versus perfection. And of course, even in statistics, and you will hear that this is significantly, this number is, it has a good significant level and so on. And when it comes to my 80-20 rules, that for perfection, is that if 80% of things, of the dots are connected, I just say the 20% will take care of themselves. That's how I have led life. This past year, that was my role. This year, I'm going to be even more intentional about it. And this is at every level, whether it's my personal relationships, my work, anything. It will be the fact that I have to connect things 80% correctly. Because I know for sure that the other 20% I won't always have control over it. I want to push to have 100% in everything that I do. I want to, of course, I dedicate myself, I give it 100% of my work. But the outcome that's going to come after, if I can get at least 80% to fall in place the way I predicted it, any machine that can have an 80% efficiency, it's I don't know. I don't even think we have a machine that for every input you get an 80% output and a 20% error. It's it maybe, of course, with AI you can get stuff like that, but even AI, a lot of AIs will get like 45% only accurate. So
AI can tell the difference between me and my brother.
Yeah. So I'm using AI to track some of my cells, and it's just, you get, like, it will tell you actually that, we could only succeed at 63% to collect the data and so on. So when it comes to this 80-20 principle, it's just, if 80% of things are connecting, then the 20% to take care of themselves. And think about this in everything that you do, in your relationships. Even you're trying to date somebody, if 80% of things fall in place, the other 20% of stuff
will take care
of itself, or you figure it out as you go. So it's how life, at least how I've decided to take life this year.
And another point that you mentioned about the 80-20 that I would like just to insist on is the fact that, you see, when you build a system, right, the results take care of themselves.
Yeah.
If you focus on the results too much, and that's the mind shift that I'm trying to make this year, that I've been making for a few years, but I'm being even more intentional about this year. If you focus only, because before, like, I've been wanting to have this 5 a.m. routine for like 5 years now, but then I never went to bed before 3 in the morning.
Wow.
Now it's kind of hard or close to impossible to wake up at 5 a.m. on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
If you don't go to bed early, if you don't sleep early. Now the question becomes, why don't I sleep early? Well, then I'm eating. It's 12:30 and I'm having a meal, a full course meal. And now I'm heavy and I can't breathe properly because I can't lay down. I need to sit down for a few minutes. And before I know it, it's 1 a.m. When I get back to my room and we have a conversation with Plumedy in bed, it's an hour. But if I take my dinner at 7 p.m. and I'm in bed at 9 p.m., even when I have to talk, even when I'm talking to Plumedy for like 2 hours or even 3 hours, I'm still going to bed before 1 a.m., which makes it a lot easier. So it's the system that I focus on, and the results take care of themselves. So the mistake that we don't want to make this year is to focus so much on the results. You hit the gym on Monday and you want to lose 5 pounds right away. And when you look at the scale, you haven't lost the weight that you want to lose, and you feel discouraged. No, focus on focus on going to the gym every single day. Eventually, the result will take on themselves. All right. One thing we want to apologize about today for those of you listening on YouTube. We apologize we won't have video, but we're still trying to work on our video system. We've made progress. Again, we are not perfect yet, but we've made progress. We are getting there. As you know, this material sometimes is not cheap, and then we try to and we're having a lot of sponsors as well this year that are helping us to take care of some of on this stuff, and some of them we tell you about them and how they're helping us. So we appreciate already all the people who are supporting us out there financially. And so next time we make sure that we have our video on. To go back to what we've been talking about with atomic habits, we started with the follows, right? The follows to create new behaviors. Atomic habit is about creating new behaviors. Is there's certain things that you want to change this year, if there are certain goals that you want to achieve. Atomic habits kind of really breaks it down. So if you change your habits, you will change your results. If you change something you do every day, you will change the end result of whatever you're trying to achieve. So we said that the first thing that you wanted to do, and it's already in our previous episode, is to make it obvious. Make the habit obvious, whatever you want to achieve. The second one that we talked about, the second law, was make it attractive. And each of these law has like 3 to 4 chapters. So you can go back to our previous episode to find out about them. The third law was to make it easy. There's no way you are going to achieve something that is hard, and we hammered down on that a lot in the last, before we had David on, in the last 3-4 episodes. We talk about how to make those habits easy, break them down to levels that are so little, like a tiny habit with BJ Fogg talk about. Make your habit so tiny that it requires you almost zero motivation. Of course, you still need some level of motivation, but it requires you zero motivation and little friction in order to achieve those habits. And the last one that we are going to talk about today is make the habit satisfying. And James Clear starts this fourth law with this chapter, the cardinal rule of behavior change. What actually makes a behavior stick? Why do you think it's much easier to get on a bad behavior than to get on a good behavior? Like, let's say I struggle with something almost every time on my vacation is you start this series on TV,
Yeah.
and you can't stop,
Yep.
right? And then it's 5 seasons,
Mhm.
and each season has like 25 episodes, and each episode is like 45 minutes. And it's much, and sometimes you just binge in and literally finish up the whole deal in 2 days. But when you decide, when you decide to like start something positive, it's very hard. Why is it that it's much easier for you to move to the next episode than it is for you to do another rep in the gym, or it is for you to eat another snack, another healthy snack? I'm talking about lettuce. I don't even know if that I don't know if that qualifies for a snack, but why is it so hard for you? And it comes down to the cardinal rule of behavior change. The only habits that we stick are the habits that bring you satisfaction. And how are we going to trick our brain to be satisfied with a habit that we are trying to create?
Yeah, and this comes the principle of the reward system. So you need to find some way to get rewarded by what you do. Like just Mark said, TV show. The TV show are funny. When it comes to actually, the psychology of all this and basically the neuroscience of this shift in behavior and so on. There are some games that there's a game that was very, very famous. I think when I grew up, when I was growing up, there was a game we used to play on a computer. It was called Zuma. And then after that, after Zuma was like people who were on PCs. But then after we started, having smartphones and so on, Zuma was quickly replaced by Candy Crush. Now, look at the algorithm behind Candy Crush. The way Candy Crush works is that we receive these cues of satisfaction every time you hit a target. So you go, oh, delicious. And it goes sweet. Like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So then what would happen is, and then the thing is, the way they tweak the game, that game hits 5 strikes inside. When you strike 5 times, you have to wait a certain amount of hours for you to actually gain 5 more so you can actually play. And they do that on purpose. Why? Because there is that reward, something that something that is vastly and widely available to you all the time. You get tired of it.
Yep.
but something that they can block for a certain amount of time. So enough for you to create that when you're like in a boredom time and you check on it, as soon as it opens, you get back on it.
Right.
Yeah. And it gives you that reward and that thing. So something that is rewarded, we have the tendency of repeating it. And something that is not rewarded, you have the tendency of punishing that thing. And that's why it's very hard to actually gain some very good habits. Like, for example, sitting down and reading a book. Or, and this, I'm going to be sharing here like a very personal story when it comes to reading. And anybody who knows me, something that has worked for me, and I got this from Atomic Habits when it came to reading. Atomic Habits was one of the very first book I read when I started my personal development journey. And something that's worked when it came to the reward system for my reading habits, it was the fact that I do not just read to read. I read to apply. There's something that's James Clear is actually mentioning here. He's talking about delayed gratification. He's saying that our brain is not our brain did not evolve or is not developed in getting a delayed gratification. Like, hey, I'm doing this so that in the future I'm gonna be this. It doesn't work. Whenever something that you're gonna earn is, that's why it's so hard to save money.
Exactly.
It's very hard to save. You have to actually have like very, crazy physical things that are pushing you to actually save. And so you don't have access to that money. Saving money in Congo is easier than saving money in America.
I kid you not.
The saving account in Congo, you barely have access to it. You barely see it.
Yep.
I don't know what they do with your money, but you barely see it, right? Here, okay, you know that you have access to it anytime you want and so on. It makes it hard because it says some future gratification, some like very, very farther. But when it came to my behavior change, when it came to my reading, the reason why I read and I maintain consistency when it comes to books and personal growth is that, to me, I don't read it and I don't make anything actually a passive knowledge. Whether I heard it from a podcast or I heard it from a friend or I read it from a book, you will hear me talk about it.
Right.
So something that helps, and all this didn't just come to be, right? So a little bit background for that. When I was younger, my dad pushed us a lot into leadership. He had this biggest thing we learned from my dad was like how to be really strong leaders and how to impact other people, how to create influence. And back then, my dad put us in this leadership training when I was back. I think I was in like 9th grade, I believe. I was a part of this leadership training that taught leadership and entrepreneurship and so on.
Right.
And the guy who was teaching, he mentioned that according to psychologists, apparently, that we learn about 50% of our knowledge comes from hearing and seeing. So vision, like if you read a book.
Actually, 40% is just vision.
Yes, vision.
And then hearing is account for more than actually 20%.
Yeah. So let's say 60% of your knowledge comes from hearing and seeing, right? That means when you go to class and when you open a book and you read a book, you're probably getting 40% if you're just reading a book.
Yeah.
Or if you read a book and you're hearing a story, then you probably got like 60%. But when you talk about it, you're getting about 75% of mastery of the knowledge. You are becoming more of a master. And when you apply it, you become actually a master of that topic. And if you keep on applying it over and over again, you become an expert. So when it comes to my gratification, my personal story about reading and incorporating reading into my habits is that I did not delay the gratification. I made it right there. I will finish reading a book and then I'll be talking with a friend and then I'll just slide in that thing that I just got. Same thing with sermons at church.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hear a good sermon over there. I'm one of those good believers. That as soon as it's like my dad, right? One day we went to church and they were preaching against watching TV.
Right.
We got home. My dad cut the antenna. Like literally, we grew up in my house with no TV whatsoever. So we grew up with no TV.
Right.
Yeah, we never watched TV growing up. We were watching like CDs. They'll put a CD on and then no channels, no TV shows, no nothing. We grew up I didn't even know half of the names of the people like in the movies, and I didn't know half of the name of people in like musicians.
Right.
Because I've never been exposed to that. So it's, I directly end up applying it. And when I apply it, now I'm getting the gratification and I'm getting the reward. And the way I get that reward is the impact now that I'm making and my ability to now articulate my language in such a way that it can actually persuade somebody. It can actually change the way somebody thinks. And when I get that, and also anybody who knows me knows that I argue a lot. So for you to actually argue, you got to have knowledge.
You need to have arguments.
You have to have arguments to actually make. So I make those arguments all the time. And the reason why I'm so good at it is because all the knowledge that I've accumulated for the many years, it's not passive knowledge to me.
Right.
It's active knowledge. I keep on applying it every day. And that is one of the examples of this part of the book that James Clear is putting out.
And I think that's very thanks Adam for sharing that personal story. And I think now that you talk about it, it makes me realize as well, it's kind of something I knew, but maybe for the sake of this episode to just talk about why I even started reading. I always like to tell people this reality. I'm not a special kid. I don't have any special talent. I was not born, I watched this kid on online the other day, Jude something, he's in New York. That kid just learned to play the keyboard by himself. He just went downstairs to his basement, to his father's basement. He was 8 years old, found the keyboard, started playing, and from there on, he just plays by hearing. I'm not that kid. I was not born with special sports talent or whatever. But there's one thing I always called my superpower. I learned one thing a long time ago. If I can read, I can learn. And that's the one thing that has helped me over the years to distinguish myself in so many areas. When I first read, I remember the first time I even had an A in a class was when I was learning English. Literally, my first A, like having like a 3.7 GPA. To just translate to what it may be in America. In Africa, it was more like 70% of my grade. The first time I came out as a stellar student was when I was learning English. And it dawned on me at that time, because of the work I was putting in it, the books I was reading, and the strategies that I was using to learn how to become better. And I realized, man, if I keep on reading, and if I keep on learning, if I keep on improving, then I can become better. And that's what James Clear talks about here. He said that once you understand how the brain prioritizes reward, the answer becomes clear. The consequences of bad habits are delayed while the rewards are immediate. That's one of the reasons why it's hard for us to get away from bad habit. Let's just take a quick example. If you're trying to gain weight, then I can send you to McDonald's, get as many burgers as you want, get as many milkshakes as you want.
I wish that worked for me.
I don't know.
I've been trying to gain weight.
You're a different breed. You're a different breed. I don't know what's wrong with you. But most of the times when you're trying to like lose weight and you're trying to cut off on fast food, it's much easier to get that salty. Salt is your brain likes salt. Yeah. That's just this reality. Yeah. So when you get that salty flavor in your brain is like, man, that was good. Get some more. Sugar. Your brain likes sugar. Your brain works on sugar. Your brain can function if you don't have enough glucose in your brain. You literally have some brain fog and all the crazy stuff. But every time you have sugar, your brain feels the reward, which lettuce doesn't taste sweet. It doesn't taste bitter. It's just weird. You eat lettuce, there's no taste to it. But the rewards of a burger tells your brain, oh man, that was good. Go do it again. Sitting down on your couch and watching TV and not doing much tells your brain, oh man, that was good. But the problem with bad behaviors is that as John Clear says it, the rewards are not immediate. The rewards are not immediate, but the consequences are delayed. The consequences of your bad habits today may not happen right away. It may take a week, it may take a month, it may take 6 months, it may take a year. But eventually you will see that happening. And because the rewards are so immediate with bad habits, it pushes you to want to repeat them again and again. I'll tell you something. Sometimes when you're reading a book, some books are actually hard to read. Some books are actually complicated. There's some concept you can read the book and rereading the same concept goes like, oh my God, I still don't get it. I still don't get it. You don't get the rewards right away. But as Adam say, when you are having a discussion and people are going like, man, you are so knowledgeable. How did you know this? Yeah. Then when you feel that rewards, which comes after the fact, it tells your brain, oh, you remember is that book that you read last time? Like, I just noticed this week. I finished my second book. I'm literally trying to be consistent this year to read at least a book every week. And I'll reread some of the books that I've read because of just the knowledge that were in there that I'm trying to apply. But I think I had a dopamine spike. When I first posted, I was like, man, I just finished my first book of the year. Wow. And today, yes, I actually finished the book yesterday. I was about to post again. I was excited. Like when I was finishing the book, I was like, oh my God, I just finished my second book of the year. And as I'm opening my third book, now my brain is thinking, man, just think about next Sunday when you have to post again. So the goal, as Adam talked about before, even when it comes to habits you're trying to build, sometimes you need to trick your brain into liking the habit. You go to the gym, post it online. Tell your friend, man, I just hit the gym today. And that feeling, the good feeling you get from doing that, will tell you, oh, do it again tomorrow. You know, it's like every time, Plamedy and I have been trying to do this. We really trying to improve our communication, work on our communication and things like that. And every time, like we have, you know, we talk things out. We express ourselves. We've been playing these games, like couple nights games. It's just like I'll ask you their truth or something like that. Their truth where I'll ask you 10 questions, and the fun that comes out of it makes me excited. It's like, hey, are we going to play it again? You know. So learn to trick your brain into liking the habits that you don't like. You know, eating lettuce is not good. Yeah, eat lettuce. Take a picture of it. And you see
actually, you'll be surprised.
You'll be surprised how people are encouraging you.
That can go viral, you know, in today's world, right? There is I think we were reading Brian Tracy on how to beat procrastination, and and he said like, one of the things that works, actually, you can use technology for you, and the best way to use technology is to be getting. Instagram is one of the most satisfying place online. It's the place where, I mean, of course, we only put our highs over there, right? But if you put something that people feel like it's intriguing, you get likes. And when you do get likes, it's satisfying. It's an instant gratification. It makes you happy. I mean, forget about anything else. When you get likes, when you see that your likes are going up, it's like, oh, wow. And then you see like somebody that, imagine funny thing. You see somebody you have a crush on, like something you post. I am telling you, you're going to keep repeating that thing until like it's going to get boring to like everybody else. But those stuff work.
They do work. It's you know, now that you even talk about it, it's like every time like Plamedy tells me something positive, it's like, oh yeah, the preaching today was good. Or yeah, I like that episode. What you said that day, I like it. It's just like, oh, wow, she liked it. You know, and it gives you that courage to move forward. So Just Clear talks about something else in this chapter. He said, what is immediately rewarded is repeated, and what is immediately punished is avoided. And this is how you also go about breaking bad habits, is to find a way to punish yourself for doing something that you should not be doing. And I think Adam applied this more than I did. When it came to technology and he was really addicted to his phone and all that, he said every time he was picking his phone, he'll go like, I am picking my phone and I know it's not good. Yep. The simple fact of saying that out loud kind of makes you feel weird about yourself, and even sometimes I add in statement that like make me really feel bad, such as, if I'm picking my phone and I can't put it down, I cannot control my behavior. And if I cannot control my behavior, and I'm like, okay, can I not control myself? I'm like, okay, I'm grown enough and I can actually control my own behavior, which pushes me to change my way of doing things. It works the same way with savings. And I think we've talked about this in the previous chapter. If you're trying to break a bad habit, make it as hard as possible to do. Do as many things in your power to make it as hard as possible. As a matter of fact, like if you're trying to cut on TV, I'll give you my address. Unplug your TV, take that cable, ship it to my address.
Yeah.
I'll keep it for you. And just make sure you don't buy another one. If you're struggling with anything, just make that habit as hard as possible. I realized at some point that I was watching too much TV. Of course, after with the vacation and all that. And my problem was every time I walked into a living room, the TV was already on.
Yeah.
So there was no effort needed for me to sit down and start browsing around the TV. But when we started like hiding our remotes after, at night, when we go to bed, we take our remote, put them in the drawer, close it. In the morning, it's not instantaneous because whether it's food or a bad habit, whenever you see it, remember, 40% of what you learn is visual.
Yeah.
Whenever you see it, even if you did not want to do it, simply because you saw it, now you are tempted to do it. I'll tell you one thing. I'm guilty of this. I like milkshake. I really do love milkshake.
They're good.
And every single time I drive by McDonald's, even if I hadn't thought about milkshake in a week, as soon as I drive by McDonald's, I'm like, I could get a milkshake.
Yeah.
But then when I see the driveway through, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we're doing
that's
next
actually
time.
one way to stop. So there's something that's that James Clear mentions actually that is important, and I think I just shared my story about what's satisfying to me, what makes me happy, and so on, and why I like the habit of reading became so important and I pushed it forward. But that might not be the case for somebody else. And I want to emphasize on, we talked about the law of reflection when we talk about 15 invaluable law of growth.
Right.
You just want to know what is natural to you. What is that something that is so natural in such a way that you don't have to reinvent nature. Things become hard when you are trying to enforce them on yourself. And that is not sustainable. One thing that you want to do is something very natural. I grew up feeling like I'm smart. I grew up feeling that, if anybody will have the knowledge, that would be me. And it became an identity that I built for years. And with that perspective, just in that aspect, I would associate my behavior with where my character is of being intelligent. So it will be embarrassing and very frustrating where I go, okay, I know this, and then I don't. I used to do this funny habit in high school. I'll make a confession before any exam or any test or whatever stuff you're going to bring it to me. I'll just tell you that this thing is easy, man. Like, I can solve this. Like, don't worry, I can get it. And I'll make sure like a lot of people heard that. And when they bring me the thing now to solve, my mind is telling me that the consequences of failing here is not just to fail this. There's a whole social thing that's you're going to be embarrassed for the next several weeks. This is high school. And in high school in Congo, bullying is legal. So
I'm not kidding. Yeah, it sure is.
People bully you. So you got to maintain that social status. And I maintained that throughout the years. So it's very natural to me to just feel that I have the knowledge and I have the confidence that I've built through years to share that. So think of a way of something that fits within your nature. When it works, it's like, this is very natural to me. I don't have to be forcing it, because as soon as it becomes hard, you won't do it.
That's what you want doing.
If you're a morning person, leverage the fact of being a morning person,
Right.
to actually change that into your advantage.
Mhm.
A morning person, you can wake up at 5. Some of us have been struggling to do that.
Yeah, we're not. I'm not naturally biologically morning person.
Yeah, I am not.
Mhm.
I'm not. I kind of am. I'm like morning-ish,
Mhm.
right? So right now I'm waking up like I'm waking up like at 6:30, 6:50. Go to the gym,
Mhm.
work out at 7 o'clock, and then start off my day.
Mhm.
I'm getting a lot of I'm getting a lot of gratification from it. Some people are noticing. They're like, yeah, you got some muscles are coming, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on a diet. In fact, I'm gonna put on 10 pounds. I'm trying to gain weight so bad. I bought so much food. I eat 5 times a day now. I've had high protein intake, and because I'm getting that gratification, and it's natural. I love to eat and I love to cook, so it's already natural to me. So if I have to use that on my own advantage to push through a habit, then it's gonna work.
By the way, there's this book called The Power of When. I'm forgetting the author. I'm actually staring at it from our table here, but I can't remember the author of that book. The Power of When tells you how to use your biological clock to your advantage. It gives different example. There are wolves. There are. I remember wolves and lions and bear. I know I'm a bear. So lion, for example, some people don't struggle to wake up at 3 a.m. And at 8 p.m. they're sleepy, and like I don't even know how to do it. But one thing that Ed mentioned about identity, which I think we need to talk about this just for a minute here. You see, most of the times we have difficulties changing our habits. I don't think it's because we cannot change them, but I think it's because we do not believe that we can change them. I remember the first time I was introduced to the idea of speed reading while retaining comprehension. A lot of people think if you read faster, then you don't comprehend what you're reading. No,
Probably
it's not true. Yeah, some people, if you do it the wrong way, obviously, you just read and not remember anything. But the first time I was introduced to the idea of speed reading, and this gentleman, Jim Quick, was talking about how to read a book in a week, I was like, yeah, you're crazy. I don't know what amount of time you have in your day or in your weeks and how you manage to read a book a week. And then he broke it down to a level that was so easy for me to comprehend. Yes, some books still take me longer than a week to read. Developing that discipline of reading a book a week, is the biggest challenge. But I realized that my biggest challenge was not my ability to do it, but was believing that I could do it. And we probably, by God's grace, this year host Dr. Price is Adam's mentor. Is also a very knowledgeable neuroscientist whose name is out there and has done a lot of work to break it down more for us and explain to us how the structure of your brain changes when you believe in something, right? For those of you who practice yoga there, I'm not against y'all, right? It's okay. If you think that it's helping you, it's okay. I don't practice yoga just because of my beliefs. There's a lot of things that go against what I believe in yoga. But the one thing that I've seen consistently in the science world are that people who constantly practice or things like yoga or meditation or whatever, it's actually been proven that monks, for example, have a different structure in their brain. Like their brain structure literally changes. So I think if you're having a hard time believing that you can, one of the things that I like to suggest to people is see yourself as a person doing it, to break into that habit. Because the reality is that what you see, you seize. If you cannot see it, it's hard for you to do it. If you can't see yourself as a healthy person, it's hard to become a healthy person. If you don't see yourself, well, think about it. If you're always there, your brain is always beating you down. And at first, the funny thing is, at first when you start believing in yourself, and I said it, when you start believing in yourself, let me finish this idea and give another idea, probably a biblical perspective. I'm a Christian and I read a lot of the Bible, and maybe may help me as well, may help someone out there. But when you start seeing yourself as a person who can do it, it actually encourages you to start. If you start thinking yourself as a person who can read a book a week, it will push you to actually purchase a book and sit down and start doing a book a week. Every time Jesus did a miracle, this is the funny thing I've seen. It's always like he always asks them the question for which the answer was obvious. Like you see when he was healing blind people, he's like, "Do you believe?"
Mhm.
It's like you wonder, why does Jesus ask people if they believe they actually can? And funny enough, I was watching this medical series or whatever TV show where some sicknesses only exist in your head,
Oh yeah.
and they actually make you very sick.
Yeah.
Like the manifestation of the sickness are real, but the sickness itself is not real.
Mhm.
It only exists in your head. And they had a term for it. I think it was psychomedical or something like that. Such as a certain sickness can only exist in your head and make you actually sick.
Yeah.
You walk in a room and this is the funny thing, right? You walk in a room and someone says, "Man, it's kind of chill in here." And it's like all of a sudden, if everybody picks up a jacket and puts on, it's like you're looking at that and your brain's gonna think, yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
cold in here, and you try to adapt. So if you have problems building some new habits because internally, and I think James Clear talks about it, internally your identity has not changed, it becomes difficult. Even again, I'm not here to preach to you, but even in the Christendom, I think that's one thing that Paul encourages people. He say, "Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind."
Mhm.
Learning how to renew your mind. If there's some confession that you need to write down. I remember at some point in my life, I believe I was so dumb that it was actually hard for me to make smart decisions. And I started, Adam knows in the office and the studio sometimes where we record, there's always this confession list where I have, where I repeat to myself that I am smart. And for those of you who are parents out there, help your children build an identity that's going to help them to become what they need to become in life. Remind them that they're beautiful. Remind them that they're smart. Remind them that they're, even when my dad always told me, "You're smart, but you're negligent." It's like the day you stop being negligent, you see how smart you are. And that helped me a lot because eventually the day when I stopped being negligent, the day where I start applying myself to working, to doing things, sometimes, it's funny, but sometimes I shock myself. It's like I'm saying something, I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe this came out of me because of your identity, changing your identity and changing your belief.
Yeah, and actually, I think that's a good transition to the next chapter here on how to stick with good habits every day. And one thing that he's putting out, and I think it's very important that you mention it, is having that visual measurement. How do you measure that this habit is satisfying to you? And then you can actually promote it. You can push it forward. Of course, a lot of time it happens naturally. You feel good about it. That's how you get bad habits.
Yep.
When it's like it's naturally feeling good, and then it's effortless, and then it's really like just like check all the boxes, and then you just end up. It becomes a part of who you are. It becomes your identity. But what if? And actually, funny habits can easily transform your values. It's something that is not mentioned in the book, but as the more I think about it, habits of being late can make you the late person.
Yep.
And it becomes a part of your values. It becomes of how people know you, and it becomes very hard to get rid of.
And it's funny that you're even talking about that because some people actually don't believe they can be on time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's just man, I'm always late.
Yeah. I'm always late, and it becomes a part of your identity. It becomes a value to you being late. So it's become a thing, and it defines your character, and it comes with so many bad side effects. But when you can have a visual representation of actually what is satisfying to you, and then you can measure that, and then you can check a box.
Yeah,
there is a good feeling. I had this habit after I read Brian Tracy's the Brian Tracy book that we reviewed, the 21 rules to beat procrastination and so on.
Eat that frog.
Eat that frog. So after we read that, I started putting a clear visual measurement and check-in of my productivity level. And I'm bringing that back again because my motto for this year, or my word of the year, is productivity. I have to be very productive this year. So I used to have this productivity measurement I was having on in my office right in front of me. The only thing that I see in front of me apart from my computer is my productivity level. And I was living for the moment where I could cross something on that productivity line. So it was a way for me to measure and to track things down. And when I would go home, and this is what I got from Atomic Habits actually, is that I started tracking my habits. I had a horrible habit of forgetting my badge at home, which means I cannot get inside the building, which means I have to either drive back home, and I don't want to drive back home. So I have to call my colleague who might be inside, who can come to open. If I have to go to the bathroom, I have to ask somebody. It's really annoying. It's really, really annoying. So one thing that I started doing from then on, I started tracking habits. What do I do when I wake up? And I started practicing calling things out. Oh yeah, I have my wallet, I have my keys, I have my ID, I have my badge, I have everything. I will call it out.
You know, funny that you talk about calling out stuff. They did a study in Japan, and they realized that every time the train driver, because you know Japan, they have those bullet train that travel at some crazy speed, but they say that every time they train their train operators to call things out, and they literally call and point things out, he reduced the number of accidents by more than 40% when the study was done. And it's just crazy and important that those little things, you know, sometimes big change are just a summation of little changes that you make every single day. And tracking habits, I mean, if you can do it in Excel, but if you want, there's actually a James Clear, and I think that's what Sheila won, is a James Clear tracking habit journal, where you can write your habit. And this is the first thing that James Clear suggested, just to piggyback on the idea that Adam was talking about. Make your habit tracking obvious. You have a notebook, you have an Excel sheet, you have, you know, your journal or whatever you have, where every single morning, and there's actually some free application you can get on your mobile to help you do that. So the second benefit, it talks about how to stick with good habits, tracking habits becomes a little bit attractive. Now let us challenge you or do something, right? If you're on Instagram, I'm not on Instagram. Funny enough, it's a whole story about it. But but we use the Unbounded Growth sometimes a platform to interact or whatever. If you're tracking your habits, or if you decided to track your habits this year, why don't you take a screenshot of it at the end of every week and tag Unbounded Growth? We are going to repost everybody who's going to tag Unbounded Growth, and we want to help you achieve your goals. And, you know, if you want to talk to us, or if you need to reach back out to us to help us, hey, I'm having difficulties on this and that, let's talk about it. But just take a screenshot of your habit tracking and say, okay, this week, I'm trying to go to the gym, and just mark first day from the 1st to the 7th. Did I go to the gym? Yes or no? And post that and see if that is going to help you to keep that visual every day. And another thing he talks about here, he says that tracking your habits is actually satisfying. Every time
it is,
man, every time like you cross down something that you did. I remember one time I was doing this 30 days, you know. Zig Ziglar has a joke about it. Say he tried the 30 days, weight lost, he lost a month. No, but I actually did try it. I did not lose weight, which was kind of weird, because I was doing push-ups. Apparently, my doctor explained to me that I lost weight, but I gained muscles, you know, which kind of didn't help me because my weight scale was still telling me the same thing. But one thing that happened during that time is that I started feeling good about myself. And one thing that helped me, I had this board, and there's a board in the office where I work, where every day I would just, you know, mark down. Did I do 10 push-ups? Yes. Did I do 10 sit-ups? Yes. Did I do this and that? And just looking at the board, especially after the 5th day, you know, you have a lot of X's on there. It's so satisfying that you don't really want to keep up. And you don't have to have a fancy board. Like I literally have a $10 Walmart board. Or you can have a paper from your notebook, but just put it in a place where it's so visual that every time you walk by it, you actually see it. The other stuff that John Maxwell, that
James
James
Clear.
Clear talks about here is knowing the when, and when not to track your habit. When do you actually track your habits? And that's where I'll go back to what Adam said. To It's important to know how your brain works. What are the things that flow naturally to you? Is it easier for you to track your habit while you are making your meal in your kitchen? Or is it much easier for you to track your habit while you're in transit, if you use public transportation? Or maybe when you get to the office, is it the first thing that you do? Make that habit to track your habit. And one thing else I'll suggest, maybe that James Clear did not talk about here, is make it a habit to review the habit that you track. Like every morning and every night. Before you go to bed, just review. Hey, I did not do this, I did not do this, I did not do this. And one thing that Dr. Mikey told me, she's the author of the 4.0 GPA. She's also a neuroscientist. I hope we can also host her this year. Very smart lady, very sweet lady, one of the best people that I've met in life. She mentors me. One thing that she told me about learning how to track your habit, even in the 4.0 GPA, is that every time before she goes to bed, she sits down and reviews her next day.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, tomorrow I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and then she visualizes the day. She says, I can literally sit down and start thinking, okay, this is the person I'm going to meet. I'm going to be sitting in the office and write this. I'm going to do this and that. And while she's reviewing a goal before bed, the next morning she does the same thing. And I learned last year this funny thing is that when you put something in your brain and you sleep on it, actually your neurons at night, when your brain is healing and consolidating your memories and all that, your neurons start connecting some of these ideas that you have on the left and on the right. And that's how Eureka's moment comes in. It's like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that this is happening and that and that. So it's important to, before you go to bed, review your habits, review what you're trying to achieve. And in the morning, first thing, of course, you have to wake up early so you're not late for work. Try to review it, and that helps a lot.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. So the parts of your brain, I believe, that is responsible for that, for visualization, is different in different people. And when, everyone know that Einstein's brain was removed and exhumed, and people went to study it. But it wasn't, and people took a bunch of pictures, but it wasn't until I think 1999 that the technology was available, when they actually now could observe, could see that, okay, which his brain was just regular, or there was something different. And they realized, I think it's parietal lobe, I think that's what it's called, the parietal lobe of Einstein's brain. It was different from a lot of people. It was bigger than everybody, and that is responsible for visualization. Einstein was a guy of visual knowledge. He could picture stuff, and it's so powerful when you can imagine stuff. And that's why he say that imagination is basically the key to science and to everything. Imagine your day, picture it, picture everything that you're trying to accomplish, have a visual measurement of what you're trying to accomplish, and that will be important. And now I'm going to try to push a little bit forward here. Now, what happens if you cannot achieve all of that? If you cannot, get to your habits right, if you are feeling that things are being hard, because there are a lot of people. Okay, James Clear is mentioning in the book that you're supposed to it's your ability to quickly pick yourself up and dust yourself up and keep up moving. A lot of people can do that, but not everyone.
Yes.
And that's why you need help. And the help here would come in the form of an accountability partner. And now that's the next chapter that he's discussing.
And I think that's pretty much the last point in this book, finding an accountability partner. I think that is so crucial and so important. And I think maybe next time when we start talking about the 5-level leadership, we can also kind of brush off on this. We are pretty much out of time here. About what are the things to look for in an accountability partner. And I think the very first thing you want to look for is someone you can be accountable to, someone who can hold you accountable for your actions. I remember one of my cousins told me there was a time he was struggling with his Bible study and all that. So him and his sister-in-law decided to do something. He said, well, for every single day you miss your Bible study, you have to pay me this much money.
Yeah.
and they kept each other accountable. And he told me he went for more than 3 months without missing a single day, because $5 is may be a lot for a lot of people, may not be a lot for a lot of people, but it doesn't matter who you are. $5 every day adds up.
Yeah.
Said with that for
fast.
sure. It scales very fast. So find that person who can not only be an encourager, but can also challenge you when you do not do what you're supposed to do. And sometimes I want to take it, maybe scale it up a little further. Find you an accountability community.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a point that I wanted to push as we talk about accountability partners. So this is the level of people that I have in my life. I have the people who are the same level as me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the people who are the place where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the people who want to be where I am. Now, the last group is the most important group to me. Because they're the ones that keep me accountable. This is the thing. I'm going to share a personal story. And this is it's really, really very personal to me. Last year, 2022 started off very bad for me. I was going through a lot of things, to a point where I just even start thinking like, yeah, it's even worth it to be going to church. It's even worth it to practice Christianity of God and all that stuff. And then I texted my younger brother. He mentioned something. Goel has this wisdom that is growing into that. To me, I see it both as a blessing, and also is just making him a very amazing young man. And I mentioned to Goel, I was like, yeah, man, I think I'm gonna, take a break from the church, take a break from all of this stuff about Word of God, whatever this stuff. I don't want it anymore. I'm just gonna figure stuff out on my own. He told me one thing. He said that whenever you're taking an action, don't just think about yourself. The position you have reached in life, it's in a position such that every one of your action is being watched
By the people.
By the people that wants to be like you. And he said, including myself. So whenever you are trying to, to misbehave or to lead your life in a certain way that is not aligning with the values that you promote, you find yourself being a stumbling block for so many lives. And in leadership, one thing that you don't want to be, something that's really, you don't want to be a stumbling block in a person's life. Those words got myself to pick myself up, dust myself off, and realize that what I keep preaching to other people, telling them that, yeah, you don't have to give up, you don't have to do this, you don't have to, your present doesn't have to determine your future, blah, 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 all those stuff start to speak to me, because I felt now that I have this community that keeps me accountable, even in an invisible way. Like, I'm not seeing them every day, but if there is any highlight in my life, those people are going to pick it up. And once they do, it's going to create a lot of shock in people's lives. And when it does, it doesn't come to my advantage. At that time, I become a stumbling block in people's lives. So it's something that has pushed me. And I'm really grateful to have my brother Goel to be reminding me of these cues and all of these stuff that I need to do, and how I have to lead, and how I have to, being that support system to me has been really such a huge thing.
Absolutely, Adam. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'll conclude with this thought here. They say that people that have been addicted to alcohol or drugs, the one that go through the whole, I forget the word that they give for it, the therapy, whatever they do,
AA,
thing to stop. They say that the one that actually succeed are not only the one that went through the whole program, are the ones who stay within the community, the people that they can be accountable to, but the one that completely get rid of it are the one who mentor other people who have been in the same situation or in their shoes. So it's very important not only to have an accountability partner, but to also have an accountability community. And I think Adam and I, we work to create that accountability community for Unbounded Growth, a
Absolutely.
place where people can come and be themselves. And we're not here to judge you. We're not here. We're here. We are honest with you, and we tell you the struggles that we have, even when we're talking about these books. It's not like we apply 100% of everything. That's our goal, is to apply 100% of everything we learn. But sometimes we fall short. Sometimes we are not even there, And even as Christians, I've been a Christian for a very long time, and just to tell our people there, we're not here to judge you, to tell you you're not worthy or you're not good enough, and it's not what we're looking for, but be a part of this community, be a part of the growth community, ladies and gentlemen. And with this stuff, we'll be ending today. Again, this amazing book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you want something to start your year with, please get yourself a copy. It's very an amazing book. And next week, we'll be starting with the 5 levels of leadership. Remember the 4 laws of behavioral change is to make the habit obvious, to make it attractive, to make it easy, and finally to learn how to make your habit satisfying. If you follow these 4 steps, there is no telling of how far you can go. Thank you again for sticking with us. Happy New Year, and we are looking to a more amazing and exciting year. Adam?
Yeah, that's all I have, and really happy New Year, and I hope you enjoy this year, and blessings to your family and to yourself. And keep tuning in and listen to us every Tuesday on Unbounded Growth. And I believe that you'll be as blessed as we are when we are producing it.
Absolutely. You have a good one, and God bless you. Bye-bye.